Welcome to our second episode of Village TV. Thank you for all the good response that I've received so far, all the positive remarks, and then the one or two I don't knows, but that's okay. And that is our local resident called Benji Janse van Rensburg. He wanted to apologize for his bad behavior on the Wandelpad. His instincts took over and he was a little bit mean to another resident there for the photograph. I also put it out there to some people that had fantastic photographs that I've seen before on the notice board and asked them if we could use it on Village TV to promote the village as a whole. The answer was no. Now we move on to our next segment called Spotted on the Notice Board. Where's Glenmuir? And it's on the Stanford Hills Road apparently. I think it's a mistake. So maybe someone can clear that up for us and just let us know where is Glenmuir. Glenmuir. I had a good laugh with this one. And then this bench popped up. I can't say I like the new location. It's not the place where I would go sit and watch the bridge. But we're glad to see that the bench is back. Although somebody needs to carry it to its original location now. I'm not volunteering. It looks heavy. And thank you to Craig Niemand for so generously donating these toys and baby clothes to the swap shop. And yet another fire, but as far as I understand, it's now under control. Remember this, the Stanford Festival in December last year? Looking at that big village green and a little bit of movement and activity on it, it surely looks great from space. Maybe we should try and keep that up. And that big old career tree that used to stand there on the municipal parking area, where is it? There is it, looking healthy and happy in its new location, shooting new branches. It is happy, it's found a new home. Where's Vanessa's bowl? Well, looking at that bowl, I can tell you that the bowl is not something that everyone would have in their house. So if you spot this bowl, please contact Vanessa. It doesn't belong to you. So SAWS approached me, that is the Stanford Animal Welfare Society, and asked if we can give them a little bit of exposure on Village TV. I obviously said yes.
My name is Truda and welcome to the Stanford Animal Welfare Society, otherwise known as SAWS. We are the home and heart of the animal lovers in town, the doggies and cats. We have a wonderful shop and we are purely motivated by the wonderful donations of our community. They bring anything from books, kitchenware, clothes, artwork, anything that you can think of. All of these donations go then towards helping our vet bills, funding our wonderful projects that we do with our outreach.
Today we are at one of the SAWS sterilisation days. It's one of our community projects, specifically designed for township animals. So we have our sterilisation days and then we have our clinic days, which are separate. Our sterilisation days are obviously strictly for sterilisation. And our clinic days are a new initiative that involve treating common ailments like mange, worms, defleeing, vaccinations, that kind of thing. So firstly, our sterilizations between 2018 And 2021 we did, early 2022 we did 263 animals.
Today we're here in Stanford for our third spay day this year so far. We've been working with Stanford Animal Welfare since February 2018, hosting spay days here, helping them sterilize all the pets from their township areas and the poorer areas here in Stanford. So today we are doing at least another 30 animals to add to our stats here. So far this year, EvaVet itself has done over 500 sterilizations.
Our clinic days is something I'm personally really excited about, or the team's really excited about, because we have, in our first clinic day we treated 72 animals. Our second clinic day we treated 52 animals, and it's all right, boy. And our third clinic day, the need had decreased a lot more, so it had gone down to about 20 animals. So it just shows that we're fulfilling a huge need in the community to get these common ailments treated, which will just go such a long way towards keeping the population of cats and dogs in Stanford healthy in the long run.
So we are on the recovery, and we clean the wound and we check for ticks, fleas, cut nails, and then put the dogs on the floor, and then we have to roll them every few minutes so that their stomachs don't twist, and we just make sure that they're breathing properly, and we are with them until they wake up, and then they get put back in their cage.
Van school daar word ek maar altyd maar hoor na dierebaardig of met diere wil ek wel graag gewerk het. Kyk, hier's diere wat die partye, hy loop die hele paaie vol, mense se jare is toe nie. Diere word hulle kos en water op tyd gegee nie. So maar ek sien hier soos die gemeenskap goed te help is, so ek sien daar baie verbetering hier in Stanford.
We work strictly on volunteers. We're desperate for volunteers for the clinic days, the sterilization days. If you don't like being on the front lines, we also have the shop, which we always desperately need volunteers for.
We have wonderful clients that support us every single day that we are open, which is Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays. Our times differ a little bit. On Wednesdays and Thursdays we are open from 12 to 2. On a Friday we are from 11 till 2, and then on a Saturday we are from 10 to 12. We are a little bit in need of men's clothes. Generally our men in the community are a little bit of the smaller size, so we would love it if we can get a little bit more of the small to medium sized men clothes, a little bit men's shoes, and also a bit of our kitchenware.
So yeah, please, anyone who is an animal lover, who's willing to give some of their time, please contact us.
So you think you just stick trees in the ground and they grow? Apparently not. Warren's going to tell us how to do this.
Here we are on the banks of the beautiful Klein Rivier in Stanford, about to plant a tree. Now, why do a video on planting a tree? Planting a tree must be the simplest thing on earth. Dig a hole, put some water in, and walk away, right? Not so easy. So many things can go wrong. And the very first thing that I need to show you is that the height of the tree in the bag is the height of the tree once planted. This is the number one reason people find that their newly planted trees die. So when we get to the planting of this tree into the hole, I'll explain how to make sure that that level is maintained throughout the process. The minimum size for a hole is 50 by 50 centimeters. If you have a large tree in a bag or in a drum, 2 to 3 times the width of the container would be sufficient, but we want to go down at least half a meter. When I was a student, we were taught that trees get a hole 1 meter by 1 meter, and as somebody said to me today, when was the last time you dug a hole 1 meter by 1 meter? So we'll go with 50 by 50. So round or square, doesn't really matter. You can cut away the surrounding turf if you're planting it into a grassed area like we are. We don't want the grass up against the roots of the tree initially. This is not a good thing for the tree when it's trying to get established. Those roots will compete with the feeder roots of the tree, and very often your garden service or gardener, whoever's doing the brush cutting on your property, will come along and ring bark that tree for you if the grass is growing up against the trunk. Well, this hole's already been dug and prepared for us. Now, if you notice inside, it's very smooth. Those of you who have clay soil, I want to warn you about this. If you've got clay soil, particularly if it's wet, this has the effect of creating a pot. And if you plant into this, you're basically creating a pot plant. So what you do with a hole where the sides are smoothed off, this is loam, sandy loam, but what you do is you take your spade or a fork or something and break up these edges. And so thereby ensuring that your roots have a way out of this hole. We don't want to create a big pot plant in the ground. Here we have a beautiful milkwood tree, which we're going to plant today. People always ask me about these lower branches. Do I cut them off? Do I leave them on? I always say leave them on. These are little food factories for the plant. They help to photosynthesize, and it creates a stronger plant in the long term. So taking them off, you're actually just weakening this plant. The part of the plant that is getting all the priority as far as the plant's concerned is up at the top anyway. So the food from there is being sent up there. The only time that you'll have a problem is if you see another branch which is trying to become the leader branch and it's shooting off in a strange direction. But in this case, these branches can stay. Before we put this plant in the hole, we need to make sure that we get the height correct, and you can use a spade to measure the bag or whatever you've got around, a stick or something like that. Hold that in the hole and you can see there that the height is more or less where it needs to be. We are going to plant this tree slightly proud of the hole, and that's because there's a settlement that occurs once we water it and as time goes by, and it will start to sink a bit lower. And remember, in the beginning I said to you, we definitely do not want to plant this tree deeper than it is in its current situation. We've now put some of our backfill, the excavated soil, back into the hole, and to a height that this tree is standing slightly proud of its surroundings. I'm going to add some compost and followed by a couple of handfuls of bone meal into the hole. I've put half a bag of compost into this soil already. We've mixed it through, and this will go back in the hole once we're done. Before we put the bone meal in the hole, let's remove the plastic bag. Simply slice it up the side here. I'm using the sharp end of those scissors. What we're going to do now is take a good look at these roots, and this is a very, very well rooted tree, and it's not very pot bound at all, but I am going to use my hands and just break up the bottom a bit to encourage some new root development. I'll even give it a bit of a tickle around the sides. Luckily, this is lovely soft friable soil, and I'm able to do this with my hands. Sometimes you might need to use a secateur or a spade or something, and there we go. Might look like I'm damaging the roots, but this is for the tree's good in the long run. If you have a tree that isn't straight up in the bag, don't try and correct that with staking. Just get it straight in the hole, even if it means that the root ball is slightly lopsided. So try and get it as straight as possible, and make sure that you find the best looking side of the tree, the front of the tree, and that's pointing in the direction that it will be most visible at. So let's add our bone meal. Bone meal is full of phosphorus, which is great for root development, and it helps your tree get established. This is also a golden opportunity to add some other goodies in. You'll never get this chance again to give your tree a great start. So if you want to add a handful of 232 or some other kind of fertilizer, this is the opportunity to do that. You're just going to give it a good start in life. We're now ready to backfill with the excavated soil. Another great tip before you add the backfill is water the tree. What we want is deep watering. You want to encourage deep roots, not just surface roots. So this is a good time to get water into the hole and to settle some of that. We'll water it again later, but take advantage of the opportunity while you have the hole open and exposed to get water all the way down to the bottom. In fact, you could even, this was wet before we got here, but you could even wet this hole before you start planting. We've backfilled our hole, and we've created a lovely mound, a little dam, a reservoir to keep the water in. And we've also placed a stake. It's not always necessary to stake a tree, but if it is necessary because of prevailing winds, always put the stake on the same side as the prevailing wind. We don't want to keep the tree too rigid, we just want to prevent it from being blown over, because that movement in the wind is ultimately what will strengthen it. Join us next week for more gardening tips and tricks.
So that's the end of this episode. We want to thank you again for tuning in and watching our channel. And then during this week, we'll have some promos up on how you can advertise on Village TV. Because if you don't advertise, I cannot continue doing this. I'll have to go back to cleaning toilets and sweeping floors, which I don't want to do. So you can advertise on Village TV. The promos will be up on the notice board this week. Please also send inquiries to villagetv.stanford@gmail.com. Any ideas, any photographs, if you want to share them, any other information, just send it to us at villagetv.stanford@gmail.com. We'll see you next week.